Paper 2, higher tier, mark scheme. Yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Meeble weeble beep. Whoop-de-doo-de-doo. And the C3PO will put it at Toronto Bush. Somewhere down here. Okay. Uniform acceleration. That's what they wanted. Ignore reference to direction. Allow constant or steady acceleration, increasing at velocity or speed increasing at a constant rate. Ignore references to direction. Acceleration scores 1 mark. Or velocity speed is increasing, scores 1 mark. Do not accept acceleration increases because it doesn't. Uniform. Did I say at a constant rate of 10 meters per second? I think I did. Upwards. Excuse me, what? Right. Motion of the ball between point A and... Oh yeah, sorry. Question 1.2 was between C and D, which is indeed upwards at a reducing rate. Decreasing rate. Okay. A system is a group of objects that interact. Why is there a loss of energy? Velocity just after the bounce is less than just before the bounce. 1 mark. Height at the top of the bounce is less than the height from which it was dropped. Yeah, that information is here. But you'd have to... What that's saying is that the area of this triangle is less than the area of this triangle, which is bold. Oh, there is only 1 mark available, so 1 mark for... What? I'm sorry, what? Oh, 4 marks. 4 marks available for that. 4 marks for saying that the velocity just after the bounce is less, or the height is at the top of the bounce is less. More information than you were asked to work out, but yes, it kind of is the same thing. Therefore the ball has lost energy. Yeah. Correct reference to loss of kinetic energy or reduced gravitational potential energy. Yeah, I did say it lost kinetic energy. Total energy of ball and earth/ground is constant. That's assuming that the heat produced when the kinetic energy was lost isn't radiated out into space. There is radiative heat loss. The Earth is not a closed system for energy. It's not even a closed system for matter. This is the same real things as before. Set up a clamp stand with a clamp, hang the spring from the clamp, use a second clamp and boss to fix a half-meter ruler alongside the spring. Well, there's an error, a potential error. You're not necessarily fixing them at the exact same height. Record the meter ruler reading that is level with the bottom of the spring, hang a 2 Newton weight from the bottom of the spring, record the new spring, calculate the extension of the spring, measure the extension of the spring. Record the new position, calculate the extension of the spring, measure the extension of the spring. You just did measure the extension of the spring by doing those two. Add further weights to the spring, so the force increases 2 newtons at a time to 10 newtons. For each new force, record the position at the bottom of the spring and calculate/measure the extension. Yep. Not fixing the ruler in position, but simply holding the ruler next to the spring. Well, okay, failing to have the ruler consistently clamped with its top exactly level with the top of the spring, yeah, that's not clamping the ruler vertical. Yeah, misjudging the position of the bottom of the spring. That's failure to read instruments, basically. Parallax error. Yeah, that can happen if you're off to one side. Allow any other sensible suggestion that could reasonably lead to inaccuracy in the data. Okay. Allow a description that would increase accuracy. Okay. Repeating the measurements is insufficient. Oh dear, they don't want you to say repeat the measurements this time. Identify anomalous results with theory effect of random error. Yep, same as before. Plot both points and draw. Yeah. To pass through 0, 0 and 10, 20. In other words, it's a straight line diagonal across the middle of the picture. Yep. Force is spring constant type extension. Yeah. An answer of 50 scores 4 marks. I did say 50, didn't I? So, yeah, got 4 marks. This is indeed exactly what I described. The line is straight and passes through the origin. That, yeah. 2, 6. That was the... that really is pretty much what I say. It's a bloody straight line through the origin. Zero, 2, 6. Explain how the data supports the student's conclusion. Because it's a straight line from there up that way. The line shows they are directly proportional, just says that the line supports the student's conclusion, which is what you're supposed to be explaining how it does. So no, not acceptable. You describe that it is that those are the aspects of the line that confirm it's showing proportional relationship. Who's next? P waves longitudinal, S waves are transverse. Yup. 0.4. Yup. Wave speed is frequency times wavelength. Yup. 18 kilometers. Yup. S waves can't travel through a liquid and do not travel through the outer core. Oh, it was only 1 mark, but come on. Magnetic field around the coil changes. Yeah. Magnetic field lines cut by the coil. Allow the generator effect. Okay. Because the magnet changes direction. Yeah, this is the thing about the seismometer, seismograph, whatever you want to call it. The magnet is bouncing up and down, it's changing direction. When there is no current produced, it's because the magnet is stationary. Stronger magnet. Bigger magnet is insufficient. It has to be a stronger magnet. Stronger magnetic field. More turns on the coil. Yes. Do not accept more coils of wire. It has to be more turns of wire on the coil. Fair. Turns pushed closer together. Can actually work. Spring with lower spring constant, so that the magnet actually moves more easily, and well, so the magnet stays more still while the apparatus moves during an earthquake. Less stiff spring, yeah. Do not accept add an iron core, because if you add an iron core, the magnet will hit it. Okay, who's next? Who's next? All heights drawn the same as tube 1, judged by eye. Yeah. Just draw a straight line across and shade underneath them. Increasing depth increases the height, mass, volume of the water column above the swimmer, increasing the weight, force of water acting on the swimmer. Allow there is more water above the swimmer, but just saying there is more water is insufficient. Okay. But you still have to say that it increases the weight of water acting on the swimmer. Increase in depth is 1.2. This is the swimmer in the sea going from 0.5 down to 1.7. Calculate the increase in depth, 1.2 meters. Change in pressure is increase in depth times density times gravitational field, which is that. 12,000 pascals. Do not accept lowercase pa, but do allow newtons per square meter. Again, if pascals, they have to write out pascals or put a capital P on it. But lowercase p and just PA, it doesn't count. But newtons per square meter does. Allow a correctly rounded answer, or allow a correct calculation using 0.5 or 1.7, even though that's wrong. One point for pascals or newtons per square meter, 3 points for that number, but apparently if Apparently they still get the point even if they use the wrong depth. So you didn't even have to calculate the increase. Oh, 1 point for calculating the increase in depth, then you get 1 point for this calculation, for this formula, then 1 point for the answer, if the answer is correct based on the numbers you put into here, even if you fail to calculate this. Gotcha. A random error. Human error is insufficient. Does clusterfuck count? Measuring the angle incorrectly is insufficient. Moving the mirror array box is insufficient. Failing to position it in the same position is sufficient. Okay. Range is 10, mean of 51 calculated. To tell you it is 5 degrees. An answer of 5 degrees scores 2 marks. So they really do want the 5. Within experimental accuracy, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflection are the same. Allow the angle of incidence is nearly the same as the angle of reflection, or the angle of reflection is usually different to the angle of incidence. But aren't those opposite statements? Allow only a few of the values are the same similar. I want an idea. Do you have a range of values? "50 degrees includes anomalous results." It's a very shallow angle. Yeah, that's a good answer. Changing the mirror is insufficient. Dude, I would so change the mirror. That mirror was crap. Or your student was crap. Or your table was crap. Or your array box is crap. Replace the mirror with an irregular reflecting surface. Replace mirror with paper is insufficient. Do not accept a glass block. Arrow of equal size pointing vertically upwards. Labelled up thrust. Ignore buoyancy. Has to be labelled up thrust. Okay. Ignore horizontal arrows if equal and opposite. Horizontal arrows of unequal length negates this mark. So you can put in thrust and wind resistance as long as they're equal length, and it doesn't matter. Weight is 25 kilonewtons, mass is 2.6 tons. Newton's third law of motion. Vertical force, 50 newtons drawn, and horizontal force, 150 newtons drawn to the same scale, resultant in force in the correct direction, shown by an arrowhead. Value of the tension force in the range, 156 to 160 newtons. I mean, if they're in right angles, sorry, but 50 squared plus 150 squared equals square root 158.114 newtons. So, you know, that's pretty generous. Value of direction in the range 18 to 20. 3 1 over x inverse tan 18.435 degrees from the horizontal. Allow 70 to 72 degrees from the vertical. Allow a bearing in the range 288 to 290. It's not a bearing. A bearing should be a magnetic bearing or a true bearing or a grid bearing relative to, you know, it's for navigation. It's not a, oh, never mind. Too few turns coils on the secondary, PD across the primary was reduced. I hadn't even thought about that one. But yeah, incorrect number of coils. Allow the number of turns coils on the primary was increased. How would you accidentally increase the number of turns or coils turns in the... And there it's allowing more coils, where in a previous question it insisted it had to be turns in the coil. How would you accidentally add an extra turn to the primary for just that one? PD across the secondary goes above 2 volts. Yes, this is how you can tell it went from a step down to a step up. Allow that it is higher than PD across primary after 20 turns. Same statement. Infrared emission increases until nails reach a constant temperature. Yeah. 5 marks for an answer of 1.2 amps, which was the answer I gave. Just to confirm. Wow, this is a mess. 640/4.